Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the Btec Level 5 courses. For this unit, you'll need to satisfy the criteria exactly as laid down in the assignment brief and as described here, but you should, wherever possible, use examples from your own organisation or business sector, as well as showing evidence of having studied the unit topics in depth and breadth by referring, where appropriate, to relevant models, theories and established best practices. To enhance your understanding of these assignment issues, we strongly advise that you also discuss them with managers and specialists in your own organisation. Each section should be approximately 375 words, although this is flexible up to around 450 words, not including graphics or illustrations, so you'll need to keep your responses focused on what is being specifically asked for in each section. Section 1. For this section, we need you to identify a vacancy or potential vacancy within your organisation and make sure you choose an interesting one. And for that position, define it as a specific job or position, then describe the requirements you would look for to fill that vacancy, then prepare a job description, and finally prepare a person specification. Section 2. For this section, you'll need to name and describe current legislation and laws that have an impact on how organisations, and particularly your own organisation, recruit and select people. For example, sex, age and race discrimination laws, working hours laws, minimum wage laws, employment of foreign workers, etc. Then explain what the purpose of this legislation is, even though that's pretty obvious. And finally, analyse how effectively, in reality not just on paper, this legislation is incorporated and applied in your own organisation. You should also mention briefly any imminent or planned legislation in this area that may affect the recruitment of personnel. Section 3. Here you should do as asked for the vacancy or position you described in Section 1. You'll need to prepare the necessary documentation for the interview panel members. Your own organisation will have a checklist of these, but you should also research best practices by searching on the internet using the phrase job interview plus documentation plus checklist. If you have no experience of interviewing and cannot arrange an actual interview or a simulated interview, then you will need to provide a detailed description of how you would expect to participate in the interview for the position that you have described above. Section 4. For this section, we recommend that you first of all critically evaluate the recruitment and selection process in your own organisation, then make recommendations for improvements to that process. Do both of the above by examining the weaknesses, strengths, illegal and unfair aspects, attitude and awareness of management and HR within your organisation, and discuss how that compares to established best practice. You also need to take into account how up-to-date the policies and procedures are and the relevance of job descriptions, staff expertise, etc. Don't forget that you also need to write a reflective statement and add a list of sources of information and references showing any books, websites, articles, case studies, reports, internal documents and people interviewed that you drew on to complete this assignment. The reflective statement and sources of information and references are not included in your word count. Here is a list of websites that you should find useful when completing this assignment. And if you need any further help or guidance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.